Hello everyone, Storm here, and today I'll be covering a brand new Total Drama What If. This one will revolve around Eva and her short-lived return in the first season. She was eliminated in the same episode she came back in, which is kinda lame as it's her last episode participating in a season besides the season 1 special. And plus, you could see just how much of a threat she was as she almost won invincibility but ended up losing to LaShawna. So let's say that didn't happen and LaShawna failed, giving Eva invincibility after all. But before we get into it, I want to talk to you guys about the channel membership system which I have just recently implemented for the channel. If you guys look at the channel page and you click join, you can see all sorts of perks that you can get, such as early video access and also having your name read at the end of every video. So if you want to support the channel and also get access to all these perks, then feel free to become a member for only $2.99 a month. But if you can't do that and you still want to support me, then feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share, etc. Normal YouTube stuff. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the story of what if Eva won immunity. After LaShawna fails the log rolling challenge, barely escaping being maimed by piranhas, Chris announces Eva's victory and gives her a brand new trailer as an additional reward. Later that night, Chris decides to show off everyone's votes as they ran out of marshmallows. So obviously, since Eva is immune and pretty much every vote besides Eva and Duncan's was for Eva and Cannon, the votes are gonna kinda shake up a bit differently. But let's be honest, if Eva isn't an option, I think we can all tell what the votes would end up. Sorry Heather, you aren't getting out of this one. This pretty easily solidifies Eva as the new big threat, and Heather turns into old news. In the next episode, Search and Do Not Destroy, Eva would likely pull the same card as Heather since she's taking her place, meaning she has to steal her key from Chef's fridge, and honestly, I don't see her failing at this. We've never seen that much of Eva's strength, but from what we do see from her and other characters, I'm sure she would just body slam Chef and take it by force. Chef would probably be traumatized by this, not wanting to mess with her ever again after. And because she got the same key that Heather did canonically, that means she wins yet again. I do think that Eva's overwhelming strength in the competition gives Duncan a jump start to make the guys' alliance sooner though. Not only do the girls outnumber them, but now Eva is back and also she puts a target on everyone from the Killer Bass. Once again, they can't vote her off, so they've got to work together to make sure none of them get voted off. Duncan tries to get Trent involved to get rid of LaShawna since she almost beat Eva and is the next big competition, but Trent refuses. If she can stand up to Eva, it'll be better to keep her around. Plus, she's one of Gwen's friends, and they're together now since Heather isn't there to ruin everything. Duncan contemplates trying to compromise by voting off Bridget, but right now, Eva is obsessed with eliminating her. If they take her out too early, she'll switch to someone else from the Bass team, i.e. Jeff, DJ, or himself. So it would be best to keep her around longer as a target for Eva. Jeff is obviously relieved at this as he has a huge crush on her, and the votes happen later that night. Beforehand, Trent would have spoken to Gwen and LaShawna about what Duncan said, so they gear up to vote against him. LaShawna asks Izzy and Lindsay to vote with them, and they agree. Bridget is already on board as she's friends with Gwen, and the votes end up tied as Izzy secretly flipped her vote onto LaShawna since she has some sort of fun when she's tormenting her in the show. This leads to a tiebreaker between LaShawna and Duncan, which would hopefully relate to the prior challenge. Maybe they have to find one more key hidden on the elimination campgrounds. Chris tells them this, and Duncan says, "What, you mean this one?" as he holds up a key in the air. Chris starts stuttering, wondering how Duncan already found it, and he just shrugs and smiles. This means that LaShawna gets booted here, which is a bit unfortunate. The show goes on. By the way, I'd assume the actual explanation would just be that Duncan finds it lying around beforehand, since that seems fitting for him. But now, everyone is aware of the guys' alliance besides Eva. So, let's see how things play out from here. Next episode is the hide and seek challenge, which had multiple ways to win immunity. I can't imagine Eva having the best hiding spot, but she'd definitely be able to book it as soon as Chef or someone else located her. Trent would hide around in the same area as Gwen so that he could distract Chef if he pulls up. This actually does occur, leading to Gwen getting immunity at the end. Duncan calls a meeting for the guys' alliance to discuss plans, giving them all the idea to go after Eva if they get caught. It's the best way to ensure she doesn't get immunity again. Anyway, Lindsay would bust both Owen and DJ, giving her immunity as well. After being found by one of the guys, Eva shoves them out of the way, running past everyone else as they call for Chef. He chases after her, but isn't able to line up a clean shot, causing him to miss right as she tags home base. This gives her a victory as well. So this gives her immunity as well. So Gwen, Lindsay, and Eva all have immunity this time, making the choices for who the guys eliminate very slim. It's between Bridget, Izzy, and Trent. Any one of them could be a good option, but I've already explained why Bridget is a bad play. Trent went off and ratted out Duncan, nearly getting him kicked off, so he'd definitely hold a grudge. This means the guys go after Trent this time. Izzy would probably throw her vote to Bridget along with Eva, as she wants Eva to be less motivated to win. So this leaves the votes as 4-3-2 between Trent, Duncan, and Bridget, meaning that Trent is booted in this episode. Next episode starts off, but a few things change here. For one, due to Bridget still being around, Jeff isn't going to be sad, so he'd have time to install bolts onto his bike. Eva wouldn't know how to make a bike, so she'd just walk up to Lindsay and tell her to build hers. Lindsay kinda denies it at first, but Eva just gives her a glare and tells her that if she doesn't, she'll steal all her makeup or something. Lindsay obviously becomes sad because of this and goes into the shed and tries to whip something up. Meanwhile, Izzy would probably take Bridget for a ride instead of LaShawna since she's there instead. After the bikes are built, Chris switches who rides whose. The main changes here are that DJ would make it through since Jeff would have remembered the bolts. I do think Jeff would mess up at some point though, since he's currently worried about where Bridget has gone. She's been missing for a while now. Eva gets DJ's bike but gets annoyed from having to carry it and just throws it. Chris applauds her for thinking strategically and not letting someone else's bike pass. And Eva's just left awkwardly saying, yeah, I meant to do that. This leaves Eva, Owen, Duncan, Lindsay, and Jeff in the last part of the challenge. Eva probably wouldn't be thinking as strategically as Heather, but would still tell Lindsay to go through all the bad stuff before she does. She's seen that she can just force Lindsay to do what she wants, so she'll do it again until she gets booted. And that time is now, as I believe Jeff would get yelled at by Duncan to get his head in the game and he'd finish second. This leaves Lindsay as third place, and the last to cross, meaning she gets eliminated. There's no finally standing up to Heather moment, but she does tell off Eva for being mean to everyone. For the horror movie challenge, I think it'd be pretty obvious Eva is not losing. Heather also isn't taking a shower, so DJ has nothing to go insane over. This means he'd get a real scare from Chef like everyone else. The top candidates for elimination would be Bridget or DJ, but I'll still say it's DJ because Bridget would be with Jeff most of the time. Plus, DJ is definitely going to have a much bigger reaction to a killer than Bridget. Now sadly, the challenge in Wabanakwa Gone Wild wouldn't matter much, as Gwen didn't even get immunity for winning for some reason, since she's the last to get a marshmallow. But Eva would be tasked with the bear, since that was Heather's challenge, and Bridget a frog in place of LaShawna. We'll probably see Bridget's more clumsy side, messing up, catching it, until Jeff shows up to help her out. As for Eva, I mean, you saw what she did to Sasquatch and Aqua. The bear would be lucky to make it into the cage. But despite that crazy feat, like I said, nobody got immunity this time for some reason, and plus, I don't know if Eva would get done first since she had to go into the bear cave. Maybe you could even say Izzy shoots Eva with the dart gun if you believe that Izzy isn't crazy and did that to make Heather lose. Her stopping Eva from getting the bear back to the cage would be pretty sick. But anyway, it's likely Eva would get voted off here. Pretty much everyone recognizes her as the biggest threat, so while I'd love to keep her around since she's the namesake of the story, this is the end for her. The only reason Izzy got booted in canon is because Heather convinced Duncan to help, and then everybody else just thought she was crazy. Which is still true here, but now we don't have Heather or Duncan wanting to vote off Izzy. They all want to get rid of Eva first. But that doesn't mean the what if is over yet, as even though she's leaving, she still made quite a few changes to the rest of the season. But for this episode, Izzy would be the only one who fails to capture their animal besides Eva if she darted her, but Eva's gone now, so Izzy would be forced to clean the bathrooms. This leaves the tri-arm triathlon with two different teams. Gwen and Jeff stay the same because why would I change them if they're both still there? But Duncan is now paired with Bridget and Owen with Izzy. I figured an Owen and Duncan had teams of their own in canon, so I should leave them apart. Izzy and Owen are going through some stuff right now because Owen pushed Izzy into the killer, and Bridget doesn't like Duncan. So Chris would have lots of drama for this episode, even with the team swaps. In terms of who wins each challenge, the eating one would obviously go to Owen's duo, the Boney Island challenge is Jeff and Gwen still, and the final one goes to Bridget and Duncan due to Owen distracting Izzy by trying to suck up to her to make her feel better. So we just have a tie like in the original episode, meaning anyone can go this time. Duncan grabs Jeff to vote off Izzy, which he's cool with, as even though Duncan was planning to get rid of Bridget after Eva, he's kinda cool with her now due to what happened in this episode. They've resolved their conflict like he and LaShawna did. Even though Owen doesn't vote for her, I think Izzy would be the most likely to get booted by Gwen and Bridget. So like Trent, Izzy got to stay one extra episode and then got booted. So now we've got our top 5. So the question is, who is getting obliterated by the past contestants? Well, I think Lindsay, Katie, and Sadie would probably say something to the similar effect of what they said for LaShawna about Bridget. That then sparks the stupidity train and Bridget gets booted. Not fair, not cool, but that's LaShawna's original boot too, so it's accurate. Our final four is now the same, but with Jeff instead of Heather. That episode without an elimination would go pretty similarly, just with Jeff losing his mind like Owen, but being snapped into place by Duncan. The next episode sees Owen and Duncan going up against Gwen and Jeff in a race to make it back to the camp. I think it'd be cool to see these two duos work together against each other here, and I think Gwen and Jeff would be able to pull it off. Narratively, you'd say it's because these two are real friends now, whereas Duncan is mainly relying on manipulation for Owen, or just like a surface level guy friendship. But we do see the two actually bonding a bit in this one. And so Gwen and Jeff have the tiebreaker votes since they've got immunity. Gwen wants to boot Duncan, and Jeff would probably be more likely to do that than vote off Owen. So we've got Owen, Jeff, and Gwen in the final three, making this challenge really hard for Gwen. Even though she did great originally, when put against Jeff and Owen for a long period of time, I just can't imagine her beating out either of them. We saw Owen in the episode, but if you compare what Gwen has done compared to Jeff, I mean, Gwen reluctantly drank Kool-Aid out of the toilet, but Jeff went into the toilet snorkeling and came out with cologne to make him smell better afterward and was hyped about it. I mean, like, yeah, it's pretty clear. So this leaves the finale as Jeff versus Owen, where either of them could win. I imagine they would both just make a pact to throw the biggest party ever regardless of who wins, or maybe they both have different ideas for a party, I don't know. But if Jeff wins, he saves some for him and Bridget as well. This what if really doesn't have too many impacts on the later seasons, as I still think Gwen and Trent would solve their whole issue together in small scenes outside of the competition. So with that said, that's What If Eva won immunity. She manages to outlast 5 other people before she gets booted, which is pretty impressive. It really just shows you how different things could have been if the writers got bored of Heather and switched the antagonist. Sadly, Eva doesn't win and doesn't last as long as Heather, but she left a few impacts that carried out till the end of the season. Maybe in the future I could cover more what ifs about Eva to hopefully make her win someday. But that's the end of the video. Special shout out to the first member of the channel, Derpy Murloc, and I hope we get more members after you guys see this video. But as always, tell me if you like this video, comment your requests for future videos, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.